Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing okay. So this video is for Monday, June 1st, our very first lesson for geometry. All right, so I'll have a video like this, either be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, but I'll try to make one for every day. I'm technically only supposed to do 3 mini lessons a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but I'll try to make one each day just to kind of walk you through what you're doing for that day, help you get on the right track and so forth. So if you look at my screen right now, this is on slide 2. So if you look in the right hand corner up here, that is the number of slides in each tutorial. So sometimes it'll be 10, sometimes it'll be 22 like this one, sometimes it'll be shorter. So that kind of lets you know how many slides you have to look at for that lesson. So if I go back to the course, so notice that I can see everything. You guys are only going to be able to see what has been opened. So today you should only have basic geometry concepts tutorial and basic geometry concepts mastery test. So you always have to start with the tutorial. That will unlock the mastery test. And if you watched my previous videos, which you should have, you would have seen that if you don't do well on the mastery test, you have 5 times you can retake it. But in order to unlock it, to retake it again, you have to go through the entire tutorial. So just keep that in mind. Now also, the tutorial, okay, the questions in there are like practice. Okay, you get credit for finishing it, but the mastery test is really what you want to take your time on because that's going to eventually give you the percentage. Okay, so the tutorial is like practice. The mastery test is when the questions really matter. Okay, so I clicked on that. So here is our first slide. Now I'm not going to go through every slide because that's what you're going to do, but I'm going to just talk about some of the ways that the questions are asked. So as I click through this, take your time to read this. Just remember, it's going to take you longer if you rush through it and have to redo mastery test than if you just take your time on the very first one and do it correctly. So they're going to have texts and diagrams to walk you through all this stuff. The beginning stuff's pretty simple. All right, so notice we have some angles. They talk about how to make an angle, how to name an angle. Um, and they'll have some review questions, right? So these are all multiple choice. If I click on this one here, it tells me I got it wrong. Okay, so it'll help you check your answer. Okay. The main part I want to spend on this mini lesson is walking you through GeoGebra. So notice that in these questions, you're either going to be typing something in or you're going to be inserting images. So if I want to insert an image, I would just click here and I would just upload it. All right. Because it's going to ask me where is this file. You can drag and drop it or you can choose a file. So for this one, it says plot a point at 5, 5 using a tool, create AB with a length of 4 units from A. Okay, so you're just going to click on this link right here to go to GeoGebra, and that's going to open up a separate window. Okay, so when I click on that, it brings me to this window right here. Now, GeoGebra has a little bit of a learning curve. You kind of just have to play with it a little bit. These are all of like my drawing tools per se. So notice for this one, I have the mouse to move or to move around a point. I'll come back to that in a second. For points, okay, you're mainly going to be using just drop a point. All right, so if I pick a point and I go to this point right here, I press A, and it'll label them alphabetically the more points you put in. So A, B, C, D. Now, if I want to delete them, I can press this back button, or I can click on the 3 little dots here and delete it. Okay. Now, if I want to draw a line between 2 points, let's drop another line, a point right here. I would hover over this function, click it, and it gives me my different options for how I want to do it. Now, if I do a line, right, it's passing through it. But let's say I just wanted a segment. I would pick segment, and that would be a line only from A to B. So I have to click where I want it to start and click where I want it to end. So if I wanted to add a third point, I'd add point C, go back to segment, And now I click on B to C, and then C to A. I've just now made a triangle. All right. The other function that's going to be really important is called the trace function. So in order to be able to trace something or to move it around, so if I want to see where B started and where it's going to end up, you would right click it, click on trace. That now allows me to move this around, and it sees the path that I've moved it. Okay. Now for drawing circles, we want to use move around a point. So I have two options: move and move around a point. Now, if I want to move B around A, I first have to click the point I want to move it around, and notice, I have to turn the trace function back on. Notice that it's drawing a perfect circle for me. I'm just dragging, I'm clicking and dragging this guy around. All right. So, and if I just want to undo it, I click back and we're good to go. So it's very important. You first have to right click, turn the trace function on. Then depending on what you want to do, if I want to draw a circle, I'm going to use move around a point. But you have to select what point you're going to move around. So I'm going to move around point A and just go like that. Okay? So again, you have to play with it a little bit. If you get stuck on anything, just let me know. We can Google Meet and you can share your screen with me and I can help you out. Okay? So and then I would take a picture of this. So I would screenshot this, save it, and then you just upload it using that right there. Okay? Now the other types of GeoGebra, besides creating, there's going to be ones that are already created for you. That would be something like this. Okay, so you'll eventually come to this slide later today. Now I can zoom in, zoom out. I'm using a Mac, so I'm just using you can use a spinning wheel with your laptop. You should be able to 2 fingers in and out if you have that set up. Now with diagrams like this, there's going to be stuff that you can move. So for example, if I click on point B, everything else is moving, and they'll explain what to do in the directions for each question. So they'll tell you what point's movable. So notice if I click on C, I can't move point C, can't move point E. I'm really only in this activity, I'm only able to move point B, and I can move B up and down the line and drag it around. So what you're going to be doing is playing with stuff like this and looking at different information. Notice how this angle is always staying 90, and this angle is changing based off where I move B. Okay? So again, it's nice because you can drag and kind of move around on these screens as well. You don't really want to mess with anything up here when they've given you some pre-created information. All right? So notice this is kind of like a perpendicular, 90 degrees perpendicular lines. B and G, this line BG and GF are always staying perpendicular no matter where I move B. All right. Another one is like this one here. Now this one in the beginning is a little bit confusing because when you first click on it, it's zoomed in right here and they say move point D. And when you first look at it, you can't see point D. You have to zoom out or drag around to find D. Because notice I can't move F, I can't move C or any of these guys right here. I can only move point D. All right. Now for this activity, they ask you to move D to specific points. So notice we have our x-axis and y-axis, but it's kind of hard to see where certain points are. So what you're going to want to do is notice I can turn off and on the x and y-axis, but I can also turn on a grid. And so I'd click on this, looks like graph paper here, and then graph paper one more time. Now it's much easier for me to see where these points are. So if I wanted to move to point 10.2, I can easily move D to 10.2, and it kind of locks it in place at like those specific points, which is nice. So for this activity, they're going to ask you to move D to very specific points, and then you're going to be looking at how are those angles changing, right? And again, the angles are in green right here. So if we go back to the activity, okay, again, or excuse me, the tutorial, you'll notice that as I click through these slides, there's short answer questions. Again, these are questions that are getting you ready for the mastery test. So very important to take your time going through them and the material. Okay, now for this tutorial, there's not a lot of information I really need to explain. All right, it's mainly just the beginning intro structures of geometry. So this video is mainly focusing on helping you understand how to use GeoGebra and just what things are going to look like. So this is that one where I was talking about moving point D, and they say move point D, and you're going to look at what these angle measures are. So this is an editable table. So if I just click on it, I can type in what that is supposed to be. Okay, so obviously you're going to want to put the correct answers, take your time, but anytime they have a table like this, you can just click in the cell and you just type it in. Okay, and then make sure that you hit submit on all of these. Don't forget to do that. Hit submit or else it doesn't record your answer. So you got a few questions there based on that. All right, and then eventually you'll make your way to the end of the slides. You'll answer the final questions. And once you're done, it gives you this nice little star badge. And once you are done with this, that is when this mastery test will be unlocked. And then you can go ahead and take your mastery test. All right. Any questions? Hit me up on the Remind. Okay. I can pretty much jump on Google Meet anytime you need me, or I can respond on Remind anytime you need me because it's going to my phone. I'm here to help you guys out. Remember that. Okay. Talk to you soon.